how, like, there's a couple different parts. There's manifestation, which is basically how your thoughts create your future, and we can talk about that. We can come back to it. But what we were just talking about was more on the note of how to get yourself unstuck when you're feeling stuck. So we were talking about how, like, when you're really upset, sometimes it's like you just get stuck in this feeling of like, why, and you just like, you put yourself in a situation where you like want to feel the feelings still. Like, this was something that my mom had to kind of break me out of a cycle of, was like, you're essentially making it worse for yourself because you're not progressing from this state of trying to figure it out. But essentially, like, while you're trying to figure it out, you need to give yourself grace and the understanding that, like, you're not going to have it all figured out, and especially not when you're in a very emotional state.
Yeah, I feel like it's like when all the emotions are heightened, it's how like you have to be able to come out of it to then be able to choose your next steps on how to go forward, instead of being really like caught up in that deep depth. And we're talking about when you're feeling like you're drowning and drowning to just stand up and like realize that even if emotions are extremely overwhelming, like, how can we bring ourselves down to allow ourselves to choose joy and choose to work forward? And we feel like a lot of people, maybe mostly, well, a lot of men have this issue with being able to choose what's next, but instead they're kind of stuck in this like perpetual cycle over and over again of just being like really overwhelmed with that feeling.
The shame spiral.
Yeah, and shame, because I feel like with the shame part is that we're not even allowing ourselves to feel those emotions. And I just learned recently that's a defense mechanism to be having like all this rumination and being stuck in your head and telling yourself stories, instead of even just like, it can even just be helpful to just like have awareness in your body and grounding, allowing yourself to actually just feel what it feels like in your body to have that emotion. It takes you out of your head. It calms that emotion down. It calms that panic down, because when we're it's like this notion of like trying to avoid so hard what we're experiencing, and if we just allow ourselves to just like drop down into it, it opens up this space inside of you to then take a next step of like, how can I better myself?
Yeah, and I do feel like so many people get stuck on the feeling and not wanting to feel that feeling.
Yeah.
So you're stuck sort of floundering, or like, yeah, with that drowning analogy where you can just sort of stand up. It's like you're drowning in the thoughts of how you feel like it's so all-consuming and you're not sure how to get out of it, but like it's not up to anyone but yourself to sort of like stand up.
Yeah. And like, yeah, this like panic of like looking to other people and you're screaming, help me, but it is literally you just allowing yourself to stand up, and like, instead of like calling out for help and looking to other people around you to regulate your emotions for you. That's not fair to anybody. And like, by all means, we want to have people in our life that can hold space for us, but people can't hold space for you if you don't allow them, if you don't sit down and actually acknowledge like what's going on, and using your words to explain, because no one's going to be able to help you if you don't even like allow them to, like, because if you are just sitting there flapping your arms and like panicking, how are people going to be able to help you?
And pull you out.
Yeah. Or you're just going to pull them down with you.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to take them by the leg and make them drown with you. And then you can't stand up with them either. And then you have a problem.
Literally. I know. I think that, like, a lot of the internal work that I've done and, like, self-reflection on how to stand up and get out of the water is based on, like, I spent a lot of my youth alone. Like, I moved out from my family's home when I was 16. I had an apartment and I lived alone. Like, I've always sort of lived alone. And so I've had a lot of time to sort of sit with my feelings. And, like, I mean, I had my mom that I could call whenever, always. She's always gotten, like, panicked phone calls from me where she's like, I can't hear you. Like, I'm just, like, breathing into the phone, you know? But ultimately, like, I was alone a lot of those times. And so I think that might be, like, why I've developed this sort of strength against my, like, more negative thought patterns and emotions, because I've had to deal with it on my own. And I think that, like you say, you know, the people that are around you are definitely there to support you, but, like, you have to be the one that acknowledges your own truth and is there for yourself in those moments to figure it out. And I think that, like, a really big turning point of figuring things out for me was just the realization that I didn't have to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
And in those moments, like, giving yourself grace to feel the feelings without sort of, like, I would get stuck in these spirals of why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? And recounting the moments and reliving the emotions of the shame and the self-doubt, because it's like, well, maybe, you know, there's truth to it, or maybe there's something I can do. But I think that the real, like, perseverance comes from acknowledging the fact that you won't have it all figured out in that moment. And sometimes, like, your emotions are so heightened in the moment that you just actually can't. Like, you have to distract your mind, divert it in the moment when it's heavy, and just try and, like, give yourself things, your comfort thing, that have hot chocolate, watch your comfort show, you know, like, smoke a cigarette if that's what you need to do, or to change your thought patterns. But literally, like, having some sort of, like, preferably healthy crutch to get yourself out of the feeling in the moment, so then you could come back later, like, more restored, to then analyze it with, like, a solutions-based mindset, instead of just spiraling deeper and deeper and deeper into the thoughts of, well, why do I feel this way?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, like letting your emotions get, like, super heightened where you're at, like, a 10. You're not gonna figure anything out when you're, like, at that point. And so, like, yeah, to be able to bring yourself down through distraction, because distraction can be, good at times when, like, we need to bring our emotions down. If we're constantly distracting, obviously, like, that's not helpful. But to be able to, like, self-soothe in that moment, whatever that be, like, going outside as well, you know, something healthy. Because, like, if we just sit in our emotions for too long, and we get depressed, and then we're stuck in bed, and then that's not helping us. It's not helping the people around us. You know, well, maybe we're missing work, or we're not able to, like, partake in our routinal things, and maybe it feels so heavy and so hard to do those things. But I feel like whenever I just start moving, even if I feel like I'm gonna cry, like, cry, do it while crying, you know, do it, because eventually when you're starting to move your body or do whatever, you're gonna calm down. You're gonna, like, refocus your attention, and it allows you to get out of that, like, stuck part. And even, like, the talking of, like, sometimes we have unhealthy crutches for people that are really low. I've actually, like, heard of, like, you know, like, today is not the day to make yourself sober. Today is not the day to quit smoking, or today's whatever. Like, if those things are helping you currently to, like, help bring you down, especially if you're, like, really low, then do it. You know, you know. Long term, long wise, if you're trying to, like, fix those, like, unhealthy habits, fine. But, like, allow yourself to have some sort of comfort if you need that in the moment, just to, like, get yourself out of these, like, really icky, grimy places.
And I think there's something to be said about coming back to those crutches and working on them later when like, you're actually more prepared to handle it. But I think that if your mindset is so low, and you're really, like, in that super depressive state, then giving yourself the grace to have those crutches, knowing that, you know, you'll work on them when you feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
I think that's really helped me.
Well, and I think it's even the same idea of like taking antidepressants. Like, it's not meant for long term for a lot of people, but it helps you get to this place where you're not so stuck in the mud, in the depths of the darkness, so that you can get to a place where you feel better, and then you have the capacity to create better coping mechanisms and habits. Because, like, yeah, if you're constantly stuck in this like low and not getting out of it, there's no way that you're going to be able to create like new ways or learn new things to help yourself.
New neural pathways.
Make the neural pathways. You gotta make them.
Yeah, there's something to be said about practice, for sure.
Yeah. What are some ways for yourself that you feel help you? What are your healthy coping mechanisms? What do you do when you're feeling really stressed out?
Like I said, I call my mom. If it's like really, really bad, that's when you know, is I've called my mom.
Yeah.
But normally, like, I do find that journaling really helps.
Yeah, you do a lot of journaling.
Yeah, I find that like before bed is usually the worst. If I've got something on my mind, I can't sleep. And so sometimes it helps just to like acknowledge exactly what it is that I'm feeling, because it'll just be like thought after thought after thought after thought that build off the last thought. Whereas if I just put it down, it's like, okay, I don't have to think about it anymore because I put it into words and there it is.
Yeah.
That's the thought right there.
Right.
So then I don't have to like keep trying to figure out exactly what it feels like or exactly how I'd explain it. It's like out.
I feel like it, like with journaling too, it kind of like slows down the constant rumination. But then I also feel like when you're getting into like the flow state of writing, sometimes you like make some connections or like figure something out as you're writing, and then you're like, oh, you know, okay, something, this is making sense, or this is something that maybe I need to work on. And I think that's really, really interesting, because I feel like when you're in your mind and ruminating so much that like it's hard to catch a thought or like make a connection. It's just kind of like chaos in there until like have it outside of you and like looking at it on this piece of paper. You're like, okay.
Oh, look, it's 3 sentences.
Yeah. You're like, shit.
Yeah, and there's also the sense of accomplishment of being able to like look at it and be like, oh, okay, so that's it. Yeah. Like that makes sense to me. Is when you do find the right words to put like all of the bouncing thoughts, the fleeting thoughts down and have them down pat. It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
What about you? What are some things that you like to do?
Oh, God. I definitely feel like it's super helpful to talk to friends. Like
communication. I was going to say.
Yeah. Even like verbally getting it out, and like, this is why communicating is so important. And for those people that struggle with communication, like, put it into words. Even if it feels weird as you're speaking it, or there's like this shame, it doesn't need to be perfect. It can be messy. You can like be confused as to like what's coming out of your mouth. But like, to be in a safe space and be able to like say these things, I feel like it's so helpful. And then you're like also making these connections, and then someone is also outside of you who can like reflect with you and give you like helpful advice. But like, even like the whole idea of like, if your mind is being crazy, like go and move your body. Like, even if you feel so heavy and you just don't even want to do it. But like, I go to the gym often, and I feel like every time I go to the gym, it helps so much. Like cardio and just like working through heavy emotions. Like a lot of things get stored in your body when you're not like working through them. And even that, I feel like, can help you work through something.
Spending the time in your head too, right? Like while you're working out and doing something good for yourself. Yeah. It probably like puts a bit of a positive lens on the thoughts that you have. Right. Or if you're able to explore them during that time. Right. Because it's probably kind of solitary when you're working out, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you got your headphones on. Yeah. You're in your own little world. But even like, you're releasing endorphins, and then you get to like feel good, the fact that you've done something good for yourself. And I think that there's something to say that like, it's so easy to just like stay in bed and like not do anything and just like let yourself be consumed. And by all means, there's space and time for that. But if it is taking up too much of your time, I think that's always like a notion for me. Okay, I gotta fucking.
It's just unhealthy at that point.
I gotta get up and do something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think being healthy too
Yeah,
really
man.
helps. Like,
Yeah.
I've noticed I've started taking multivitamins in the last 2 years, and I don't know if I was like missing something, or
Right.
lots of girls that I know have like iron deficiencies and stuff
Right.
like that. And like, I don't, I just signed up today, thank goodness, for a family doctor, but I haven't had a family doctor since moving home like 5 years ago. So I don't know if I have any sort of deficiency, and like having that multivitamin, I feel like just sort of tops me up and gives me the best chance going forward. And then I also have that as a bit of a like chip on my shoulder, like, oh yeah, I took my vitamin. Like,
Yeah.
I am trying to be healthy, trying to give my body the best chance
Yeah.
to fight the negative thoughts, fight like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, trying to get a good sleep so you're not tired, and
Right.
like all of those things too, I think really help.
Well, there's something to be said about like, it's crazy how people. Oh, there's a dog barking. People don't realize that like they're like depression and anxiety. Sometimes it's actually like, can be caused by what we're eating.
Yeah.
Really processed foods. If we're not moving our body, if we're not hydrating properly, if we're not sleeping properly, vitamin deficiencies. And it's so interesting that this is like something not fully recognized like in the Western medical system, is that like the way that we treat our bodies is gonna affect our mind as well. Like our serotonin is made in our gut. So like to make sure that we're eating a balanced diet, like it's so crazy when people don't eat healthy to me, because it's like, yo, that affects you so much.
Yeah.
Like eating processed foods, like all the chemicals in it, and like not drinking enough water, or not getting enough sleep, like all of these things, it can be such an easy fix, I find, like by just like these small tweaks of like trying to add a little bit more of that like wholesome picture, can be really helpful. And then I have this like other thought in my mind. There's like this diagram chart of like a circle, and it like talks about like different areas of our life, and like what we're like, how we're feeling it. And so like it's like how our environment is, like how our work life is, what of our spiritual life, like our friend life. So like making sure like through all of those categories that we're like filling it all.
Yeah.
So like, do we have a spiritual practice, or like what do we believe? Like do we like to pray or meditate, or like honor the land, connect with the land? And like if we're missing aspects of like, are we seeing our friends and family enough, are we getting outside enough, are we moving our body enough, and like ensuring that we're like touching all of those areas of life too.
I love that. I'm so glad you brought up the diagram, because I feel like that's probably something I haven't seen since I was like younger, or it's so true. You do, it's like in The Sims. You have to keep all your powers up.
Yeah, I haven't played Sims in so long.
I know, me either. Like, see, even just things like that.
Yeah.
Like, you need to like give yourself things that just give yourself joy.
Right.
I had a thought on like what you were talking about eating healthy, and like, because it's so important. And I think that like what we're trying to say in this moment is not to shame anyone if they do want a sweet treat at night, or if you do want to go out once in a while, and or this and that the other, like when you do have those tendencies to not eat healthy, it's important not to shame yourself. But I think what we're saying is that when you do eat healthy, then it's like the opposite of feeling shame for when you've eaten unhealthy. When you eat healthy, you get a boost of serotonin, like even just the smallest thought in your brain comes up, like, oh, I'm so glad I feel really good after that, or I'm so glad I ate like a vegetable today, like even just those little thoughts throughout the day for like combine into this whole narrative that you have in your mind of like what you're doing for yourself throughout your life. It's like, oh, I'm so glad I did that for myself today. I'm glad I took my vitamin last night, like
Yeah, it reminds me of one of my counselors in the past. I remember I was like self-shaming super hard for consuming different substances and like wanting to cut all of these things out, and she was like, why don't we focus more on adding things? So like it's easier sometimes if we're like, we choose to eat a salad or some veggies, and like we're adding these things. But yeah, I'm still gonna eat my cookies at night or whatever. But it's the fact that like, yeah, but I also added something healthy, and that feels good, instead of like just solely focusing on I need to stop all of these things and whatever. I think it's
integrating the good feeling thoughts by doing nice things for yourself.
Yeah.
Like that is the epitome of loving yourself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's like hard to get to. I feel like it's so hard to understand how to love yourself properly. Like, even when I thought I loved myself, there were like new aspects I learned about when I was in a relationship. You know, it was like, oh, like these are still tendencies I have that are self-destructive.
Right.
Like it's a process, you know, and it's not a quick fix. It's not like you're just going to change your whole diet, your whole lifestyle. But yeah, that's so true. It's like adding bits and pieces that you can be confident about and that make you feel accomplished and give you some joy back. Because ultimately life, you know, it is hard, like, especially when you think about like the purpose of life and how like that, like who even knows, you know what I mean? Like there's religions, there's culture, there's all these different points, and I think it's so personal to every single person to find their purpose in life.
Totally. What do you care about? What brings you joy? There was something that I read, because like, the whole idea of purpose can be so overwhelming, because we don't know. Mm-hmm. And so like there was a post that was saying, instead of like solely focusing on your purpose, what do I feel called to doing right now? And that'll change in different seasons. So like, you know, being present in the like, what am I feeling called to? And if you're feeling just called to like spend time with your family and friends, or like getting outside, like it doesn't have to be this like huge thing. Like it can just be simply like adding more joy to your life, you know, and like throughout life that it might change and it might become a more larger task at hand. But yeah,
I think that's something that's really helped me on my journey of like finding purpose in life has been books, like the self-help books and stuff.
Yeah,
I read one that was called The Amazing Powers of Deliberate Intent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's by this couple, Jerry and Esther Hicks, and their whole premise for it's a little cuckoo. I mean, they say that they hear from this collective consciousness.
Oh, woo!
Oh yeah. But you know what? Like, I kind of read through the lines with that book and took what I needed, and a huge part of their philosophy is that the whole purpose of life is joy. Yeah. And they measure your success by how much joy you're having.
Heck yeah.
And that was instrumental, I think, in like my turning point. You know, a lot of people talk about, the book The Secret, or like the law of attraction, and these like sort of philosophical notions of how to be and how to do in life. But that was something that really stuck with me, was just being intentional about finding joy.
Right. It's like changing this whole idea of like we're doing good like through our productivity, but like the whole idea of finding joy, or like some people will talk about like how much love can I bring to my day, like how much love can I give, and how much love can I give to myself, and like how much love can I experience. And something about joy is really interesting, is that like I feel like there's this like search for joy and how do we find it, but like I love the whole idea of like how can I bring joy to what I'm doing right now. So like if I'm like going out for a walk in nature, how can I bring joy to that experience of like, okay, like, you know, looking at plants, identifying plants, like what about this can I bring joy to? Or like making things special, romanticizing your life, you know, like bringing joy to those, because I feel like it's not something that we can like chase and like find outside of ourselves, but more of like something inside of us that we can bring up and be like, I can bring joy to all of these, like even if like it's like super mundane or annoying, like
No, you're totally right. And I feel like the thoughts that we're touching on are like expansive thoughts as opposed to like constructive thoughts, which is I think where people sometimes I know that for me anyways, that's kind of where I was stuck in, is constructive thoughts that constrain you. But romanticizing your life is something that actually Pamela Anderson talked about in her documentary on Netflix.
I don't think I saw that.
No, you have to watch it. It's so good. It's so good. She has such a cute little farm life, and she just literally, she talks about romanticizing her life. She's like, I'll light that candle at night because it looks nice, or make your decor what you want it, set the table how you want, like little things like that, where if you're gonna make a soup, okay, well then what kind of nice breads can you get with it, or like just different things like that, where you bring in the creativity, the artistry, and really romanticize it for yourself. That's why I like to have my baths in the evening.
Right.
I'll have a candlelit bath and just like watch my reality bullshit shows and just forget about the world, because it's what feels nice, but always with bubbles. If I don't have bubbles, it's not romanticized. It's just hot water.
It's just soup, man.
Body soup.
Yeah.
Did want to talk about there was something. Oh, I feel like this is all sort of like base one. This is like phase one of expansion, is like is like getting to the point where you realize that you're even thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
Or thinking of
self-reflection.
Yeah. And then I feel like there's also like a step 2 where you can start like using that for your advantage.
Right.
So for example, in my life, when I realized that like your thought patterns really create your reality, and like being emotionally aware is so important, and having all this time to sort of move past the depression, like get out of the funk, and then see sort of what's on the other side. For me, it was learning how to build my life up, not just like be in life and be okay.
Survival. How do you
Once you move past survival and you have these tools of like just these tools of how to even like be okay, you can apply those tools to like bigger and better things. So I was working at a job that it was good paying. My grandpa got me the job. It was, in the field that I wanted and stuff. But for me, it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. And I found that the winters were really cold. And so throughout all these experiences, I started like creating sort of a list of my preferences.
Right.
And I think that this is the second step, is like identifying your preferences. So, and this applies to not only like your work life, but also like your relationships, and sort of like filling that wheel or that diagram you were talking about is like, okay, well, in my friendships, like what do I preference? In my work life, what is important to me and fulfilling, and in relationships, So for me with work, I focused on work because I have always worked since I was 14. Always had a job, always worked really hard for my money. I've always done, relatively okay. Missed a lot of work when I was younger and like trying to figure this all out.
Right.
But this last, I'd say, couple of years, I've really capitalized on opportunity. And I've aligned that with my preferences because I spent so long in a work situation where I didn't like what I was going through. I didn't like how cold I was. God, I was so cold in the winters working outside. Right. And so I was like, I want to be warm. I want to show up in my workplace surrounded by people who all have a like-minded vision. Right. I want to contribute to something that I feel like is progressive and is making a difference in the world. That was a big one for me. Yeah, totally. I felt like, I had like a bit of like government jobs and I was in sort of some weird spaces where there wasn't a lot of progress being made. And that was really tough. That was really tough. And that, like, I feel like while you sit in these spaces that you're uncomfortable with, like, instead of just being like, oh my God, like, I can't wait to get out of it, and feeling like it's never going to end, is having those productive thought patterns of, well, how am I going to change this? Yeah. What am I going to move on to? What would I prefer?
Yeah. That is such a good, like, first step because, like, yeah, this idea of being stuck in the depth, it is going right back to, like, being stuck in the cycle of, like, I hate what I'm doing, I don't like it, I don't want to be here. But if you don't step out of that and say to myself, yeah, like, make a list of being like, what do I want? Because nothing's gonna change if you don't know what you want. And once you start to focus on what you want, it seems you start to make actions to then follow that. And like your story is literally that. Like I've watched you for the last couple of years of like hearing like what you want and like, what you want to do. And you've literally manifested like your dream job and school situation, and maybe you can share a little bit about like what you do.
Yeah. Thanks, Phoebe. Yeah, it you know, like, I think it all stemmed from I didn't want to be cold. Like, I'll tell you the truth. I've been cold too many times, man.
Yeah.
But no, I decided that my preferences were, you know, I love working from home.
Mm-hmm.
I love being at home. I don't really like, you know, having to get up and get dressed and put myself into this presentation mode to go out in the world every day when work is already hard enough. I want to focus on my work. I don't want to have to worry about how I'm showing up in spaces, or I have to go to the office and do these mundane 9 to 5 or things like that. So it was just more like preference picking, I assume. But yeah, I think it stemmed from, you know, I was working an office job for a bit that was pretty gravy, but whenever I would have my period, I would like dread going in. Like, I'd be like crying putting my clothes on, like in the morning, like I can't wear jeans, they're too tight. I can't wear anything. And it was just like, honestly, such a hindrance in my own like work. Like, I wasn't able to focus on the actual work at hand because I was too worried about getting up and getting to the office some days. So I took that and I internalized it, and I was like, I want to work from home. And I slowly was able to do that. I mean, in the job that I had, they did have like a working from home agreement where you could work 2 days at home. So I started doing that. And then when I came back on the next year, I just said like, I just put my foot down and said like, I want to work from home this year. And I have a space set up at home. Barely. I don't even know if I had a desk at that. I was sitting on my kitchen table chair. It was so uncomfortable. But I just started, and I just made it known that that was a preference of mine. And then things aligned to it. Yeah. And then like after I finished that job, I didn't really have anything lined up, so I was like, well, I guess I'll go back to school. I had sort of a scholarship lined up just from some connections I made when I went to Africa, because I went to Africa for 3 months a couple years back, just to do like a cultural exchange, because I'm Indigenous. So it was exchanging Indigenous cultures between the people of Uganda and, for me, the Gitsan, and like just other First Nations. And there's, I think, I think we're all First Nations. There's 5 of us that went. But anyways, one of the sponsors for that trip, they were the ones who gave me the scholarship. So I came back around to it. I decided to do the scholarship, and at the same time I was offered a part-time position that was from home as well. And I waited to take this scholarship until I found the right program, and I ended up finding one that I could do from home. That's like a hybrid. So if you're down in the Vancouver area, you can go to UBC, but if you want to just do it from home, you can. Yeah. So now I just completely work and do school from home, from my desk. Yeah. And it's lovely.
And you're doing stuff that you're like extremely passionate about, and like you're just like excelling in this area of work, and it's really cool to see, because like I feel like you didn't settle, because I remember you were like, you had kind of different options, and you're like, I don't know which one to choose, but like you knew what you're passionate about, what you wanted to do, and like, the spaces and the people that you wanted to work with. And it kind of seemed like these opportunities were just kind of like coming to you and falling into place, and it just worked out. Because I remember there was a point where you're like, I don't know like which one to choose or which one I'm doing, and then all of a sudden it kind of worked out. And I think that it goes to show too, like sometimes there's that worry phase, and like it's almost like you didn't even really need to worry, because it worked out. And
I look back on that so often. I'm like, man, I was so stressed out. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then, like, it always works out. But I think it's if you have that North Star. Yeah. Like, always having a direction to, like, how you feel about the world. And
mm-hmm. Yeah, not being afraid to speak up to, like, what you want. And not even, I feel like people are even afraid to, like, admit to themselves what they want. Because it seems so out of reach. And I think that like I really relate to that, just like having a chronic illness and trying to like navigate how I want my life to look. And like I feel like maybe like my manifestation skill is different than yours, and what I focus on like for myself was like trying to like just get extra income. That was like super simple. Like I'm not ready to go back to work, so like all of a sudden like I was like, I don't know, I want a job that's like enough to like get a little bit of money, but I'm not ready to be in the workplace with like where my health is at. And then I started house sitting, and like I didn't even really have to try that hard to like where like word of mouth just got. Is that word of mouth? Yeah,
I think so.
Okay. I don't know why it sounds so weird. Getting like house sitting jobs and like being able, that felt so good to me, and like within my capacity, and like I'm not forcing myself to go back to work when I'm not ready. And then also like I was living in a really shitty apartment and like really hated it, and like was like on the fence of even trying to apply to get out, because I live within like BC housing, and I applied anyways, and I got into a building that like is super nice. My place is beautiful, and the dude told me that like they never transfer people, and that it was just like a really lucky rare thing. But like thank God I even put it out there. Like I think that's like people are even afraid to even put it out there what they want or ask, because like the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't happen, or that someone says no to you, and like okay, you're just still in the same place, and that's fine. But like to allow yourself to like actually try, and I feel like I'm in the stage of like I'm ready to like take steps forward to something new, because like I'm in this place of like I'm still kind of like not as well as I would like to be, but I'm finally getting like some medical support. That's also like really exciting for me, and like manifesting that. But like what are my next steps of like, do I want to travel? I want to like maybe build a business for myself through like art, and like I think for a long time I like wasn't even allowing myself to have those goals because they felt so just not reachable. But I'm like, it is possible, and if I put my mind to it and I allow myself to want those things, I think that I can do that.
Oh my God.
You know? And it's exciting. It's so scary. Like I think that's what is hard for people, is that it feels scary, and like it's in your mind, you maybe can't picture how you're gonna get there, but if you just allow yourself to be like, I know that this is what I want, then you just start breaking it up into these very small micro decisions, and I feel like that's how it happens.
That is how it happens. Is once you have this North Star, all of the other decisions in your life align with like this preference or whatever. But
yeah, totally.
Oh, that's so interesting hearing you talk about it. I love hearing like the differences in our journeys,
and I think that's what it is too. Like everybody has whatever they want to manifest, big or small, whatever area of their life. But I think that it is just, it's so crazy when I ask people, maybe not everybody likes New Year's resolutions, or like people like celebrate when the end of the year is or the beginning of the year, depending on a season or like their culture or their religion or whatever it may be. I like New Year's resolutions. I like making a vision board, because it's like, for me, I check in, I review my year, I see what I was proud of myself, the things that I've overcame, and then things that I'd like to change. I write all of them down, and like I love visual. This is why I love vision boards, because you like have these pictures. I also love Pinterest, and I'm constantly pinning throughout the year things that I like that resonate with me, whether it be like how my house is gonna look, or like what my relationship's gonna look like, or like how I want to eat, or going to the gym, or whatever. And like having that like image like in your brain, I think is like really good. I feel like maybe not everyone's visual learner, but I like
I'm definitely a visual learner.
Yeah,
that's something that I was thinking, because we did vision boards last year, and it was kind of my first year to like, I mean, I've thought about the premise before, and maybe I've done some I used to do one word every year that I would work towards.
Right. Yeah.
So the first one was, I think, balance.
Right.
Because I was starting a new relationship, and I felt like every relationship that I'd been in, I'd lost balance. Like I was always unbalanced.
Yeah.
In the ways that, because going back to the beginning of our conversation, like there is always that darkness.
Yeah.
That is like underneath. And I felt like, when like relationships would just teeter me off balance and take my independence away a bit, and then I would count on them to try and like save me from drowning, and then it felt like I wasn't. So I worked on that, and I felt like I sort of achieved balance. I was able to, within a relationship, feel like I still had my independence.
Right.
And then the next year was discipline. because I felt like, I really wanted to start doing things that I didn't want to do when I didn't want to do them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a skill to master.
Yeah.
This year I don't know what my word's going to be, but we did do the vision boards last year.
Right.
And I was thinking about it the other night. I was like, damn, like it doesn't even feel like it's been that long.
I know.
But I think what the thing is about them is the visual difference. Because I think that I'm like, oh, I don't even feel like I need to do another one. Like I'm still on those things that I put on that vision board. But then once we do on this weekend, I feel like I'm going to be able to visually see like, oh, look at my different color palette. Look at it's all travel. Yeah. Oh, would you imagine that?
Exactly, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's so interesting in different seasons of life, like what we want to work on. Like I was like that and like, reflecting as to like, what was I thinking about last year? And like, what was I trying to, and I think that there's this like truth in like, we set a goal or whatever and we're still working on it, and I think that's so normal and so true. And the girl that like got me onto vision boards was that like she'd keep all of them up from previous years.
Whoa.
And and like if she felt like it wasn't complete, she would kind of keep it there but still make another one and kind of like remind herself. And you have yours in your living room, I have mine in my bedroom, and I love sitting there and looking at it because like even you look at it, having it in a place that you can look at it every day and like have like this like visual reminder, I think is like really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did mine like lots of feathers, and I wanted to feel lighter.
Yeah.
The words definitely help on there too. Like we cut out some big words. Like I had like mind and body and sleep. I have sleep on there. Relax, your health depends on it.
Did you buy your new bed this year?
I don't know. I think so.
You must have. You haven't had that bed for that long.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. Oh my god.
Yes. Yeah.
No, actually, you're right. I did buy it since
I've done that vision board. And you got a new fridge so that your fridge wasn't humming and keeping you up.
Oh my god, you're right. It was loud as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, these are the micro decisions. Yeah. Like once you have like a goal, it's like you don't even notice how your decisions influence the outcome.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is that like on mine there's like this really funny lanky cat that looks like Monty, and at that time Monty, my cat, was not living with me. My cat was living with my ex-partner, and I kind of thought that like I wouldn't get Monty back because of where I was living. I was living in an apartment, and now my cat lives with me. He's an outside cat. He's super happy, and I reflect on that. Like I never thought that I would get him back and that he would be my cat. So I'm like, oh, it's so funny because like at that time I didn't even really put it on there, because I was trying to manifest the fact that I was going to keep him. I was just like, love.
This is important.
I love the image because I love my cat, and so I'm like, this is really cool how that all kind of fell into place. Like
you were able to like visualize how much your cat meant to you instead of just like having it be a passing thought. Like, damn, I wish I could have my cat. It was more like, God, my cat is so important to me, and then you can kind of be like, oh my God, it's important to me.
Yeah, it is. It's like these subconscious things that come out too with like when you're looking through a magazine, you see something that like screams at you that seems important, and you're like, oh, okay, like it. I love that like intuition kind of like feelings instead of having so much thought. Sometimes like a feeling can also like send you in a direction that maybe you didn't even know was like important to you or like would be a part of your life or whatever. Yeah, there's some magic in that, I think.
Aw,
I know.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's step 2.
Yeah, going back to being in the depths of your emotion, we're gonna pedal backwards a little bit.
Right.
Do you want me to explain to you this mirror neurons thing quick?
Yes.
Okay, so I learned about this. It came up for me twice, which is like recently, which felt like kind of important to me. But I watched a video of someone that I know who was explaining mirror neurons in our brain. I might butcher the fuck out of this stuff. I'm not a scientist. So he said, when you pick up a cup of coffee and you move it and you like, okay, so this is hard without having a visual. So you see me having this object and I'm moving it. Your brain will see that I've moved it and it will fire the same neurons in your brain. And so the idea is that like when we're consuming stuff, media for instance, it makes our mirror neurons fire and makes us have the same desires. So if we're consuming things that are negative, our mirror neurons will fire, and then we kind of like, it affects us in a certain way. So the other way that it's used is like when someone's having an emotion around us, so someone's really sad, it will fire our mirror neurons, and that's when like empathy can come up, and we will feel their emotions. So this is like the whole idea, if we're consuming like negative things, it affects us, or if we're consuming positive, like if we're like watching people at the gym and we're like feeling inspired by them, that's kind of like what's happening in the brain. But yeah, it's kind of like this idea of like being careful what we're consuming, and then also like with the people that are around us, like how it's affecting us, the people that we're spending time with, like our habits can become their habits because of what's going on in the brain. And this is like why we have to be careful. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh my God, it does. I see it like show up in so many different places in my life. Like I try and explain this to people that I'm close with about like being careful and selective with like who you have around you, like your friends and stuff, because even if you think that they're like a good person,
Right.
like they could hinder your growth depending on your personal preferences that we mentioned. So like if you have aspirations of certain things but they're kind of like bogging your mind down with like whatever they're into, like it can kind of direct you or misdirect your path a little bit.
Right.
And same to be said about like poor influences. So if you have people around you who don't have the same expansive thoughts that you do, or can't challenge your mind or like get excited about the same things, like then it's not healthy growth. Like sometimes it can just bring you down.
Yeah. Do you remember what your thought was that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to like, I do think that like the first half of this session was like the most important. Like I think that we kind of like, because we're out of that phase and into the second one, we're like focusing a lot on that. But I think that I did want to just like also pedal back and explain that like the first step of even just acknowledging your inner emotions, your preferences, your woes, and giving yourself grace to feel those or distract yourself until you can feel those. Like that is the first step of this work. Like you can't get to this higher point of like aligning your life with how you want to live until you like are okay with just living in general.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that the first step is really hard. Getting out of the depths, because if you're used to staying there, that's what you feel comfortable with. Like people will find comfort in these hard emotions and this whole idea of making neural pathways. If you're so used to like panicking when you have an emotion, you're immediately going to keep going to that because it's a pathway in your brain that it feels so common, that route has been gone over and over. And so choosing something new is going to feel very hard. You're going to not want to do it. It's going to feel so difficult. But it's those small baby steps that when you push yourself, you will start to make those new pathways. And once you continue to use that new pathway, the old one will grow with new grass and become non-existent.
A patch of wildflowers over there.
Yeah.
A distant memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so true.
And no shame in being stuck in that part, because we've all been there.
Yeah.
Being sad sucks.
You have to go through that to get through it.
And a lot of people make their biggest changes when they hit rock bottom. I know I've made some big changes when I've hit rock bottom, and some people really got to go there. I hope for a lot of people's sake that they don't have to do that and be really stuck there. But there's compassion and empathy and love for those people. But we're all just here rooting for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that there's something to be said too about rock bottom. It's not like you're gonna climb your way out immediately. Like for me, you know, I hit rock bottom when I was probably 16. That was probably the lowest of low for my life, and it took me at least 3 years to just feel normal.
Yeah.
And then another 3 years to maybe come to the realization that I believe that the purpose in my life is to experience joy. And then from there, you can start sort of, okay, well, you know, what brings me joy, and what else is there on top of just surviving?
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, like, while we're trying to get out of those deep, dark places, is that we, again, we gotta find like micro joy in that, because like, yeah, like you said, it's not gonna get better in a day. And so like to be able to just like distract and turn off those hard emotions and do something that's fun, something that brings you joy, and allowing yourself to just enjoy different things. Because, and also to say like, even if we're in this place of feeling like we're not super stuck in the mud, well, you're still gonna have really bad days. Like,
yeah.
it never ends. So take it one day at a time. The darkness continues. But yeah, like even being someone who's like chronically ill and having like I would say not the most fulfilling life, I am someone who's extremely passionate about adding joy and doing things even when you feel like poo. And just trying your best, because that's all you can do.
No, literally. And I think with like that it never ends is like, for me, I do have depression. Like, I also have like type 2 bipolar that I was diagnosed with when I was 16. So who knows if that's still there now, but I do notice like that I can kind of switch from being really upset to really happy, or vice versa, quickly. And I think it's just when you go through this self-reflection phase of your life where you take that first step in trying to see what else is out there besides suffering, like it makes it easier for when you do suffer. So like present day, I know that I still have depression and I know it can come back at any point in time, but I feel like much more prepared and like ready to handle that. Like, I know that I'll be like, okay, well, I'm gonna spend a day in bed, see if I feel better. If I need another day in bed, I'll spend 2 days in bed. You know, if I need a whole weekend, hopefully I feel better by Monday. But it's not that I'm sitting there like, oh my God, here we go again. Yeah. You know, because it's just I've grown those tools to sort of understand that it is not the be all end all. Yeah. This feeling isn't forever. Yeah. Which is like what I felt a lot when I would be in those moments, is like, oh, here we go again, right back to it. But now when I experience those hard times and those hard feelings, it's different. Like, it's a different it's not as bad.
Yeah. And that's like such a good point, is the remembering of like, it's not going to be forever. And I think that's where the panic comes, and not allowing to feel emotions, is because like, if we open that door, we're afraid that we're like never going to come out of it. And also the aspect of like, adding more joy, because then when we're in those deep, dark moments, we can also say like, okay, I've gone through this before and I've come out of it. And I also know that there's still joy in life. Like, even if I don't feel good right now or today, like, life isn't about being happy all the time. That is not realistic. Like, we're not here for the toxic positivity. Like, that's not reality. It is all just like taking care of ourselves and like giving ourselves grace, allowing for peace and rest, and like there's always this quote that says, the sun will rise and we'll try again.
I love you. You're so sweet. You know, it's funny that you talk about toxic positivity, because I feel like in my life, now that I have grown through so many stages and I am at this point of like realization, sometimes I find it hard to have empathy for others that don't see the truth, like my truth, right, or how I move through life. It's like, because it feels so obvious to me, but it's taken years to figure it out and work on it, and sometimes I forget that. Right. And I think it's like really important to slow down and like meet people where they're at, and just try and like offer support and love and guidance, and not get caught up with like, oh my gosh, like if you could just see the potential of your life, or like and sort of like moving away from that toxic positivity where you're meeting people where they're at.
Right. Yeah, that is a really hard one too, and I think that I relate with that, interacting with some people sometimes who are going through certain things, and like having it be like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to be around for this, like this is too much. I feel like this is kind of like a side thought, but like the idea of community and like people wanting community, but like not having the capacity to like sit with people through hard times, it like kind of hinders people to be able to have community, because we're always wanting things to be good all the time, and therefore like we won't accept people when they're going through hard times. And that's something that I've had to also work through, is that I'm like, I don't Like, I don't want to be with you while you're having difficult emotions, but like, I want people to sit with me when I have difficult emotions, right? And so being able to give that back to someone else is important. But it's hard because, like, again, with this mirror neurons, when we see someone struggle, it causes pain in ourselves as well. And, like, we want the people that we love to do well. And, like, it's so painful because I think it also brings up, like, painful times for ourselves.
It's
and, like,
triggering.
It is. It's very triggering. And it, you know, we then feel down as well. And I think in that it's also, like, looking after ourselves and taking time away to fill our own cup so that we feel capable of sitting with people. But then it's like this also aspect of, like, if you're someone who's going through something and, like, not doing the work, it is also kind of putting hindrance on your loved ones. And to have that, it's like, it's not a shame. This is, like, not a shame, me shaming people. It's a, like, also loving yourself and taking care of yourself for the people around you as well. Because that's something that I've kind of feel passionate about too, is even just, like, with my health, and just kind of stepping out of, like, self-destructive habits. And, like, because I could just be like, man, my life sucks, like, I have chronic health issues. I could just drink every day and continue with bad habits and smoke cigarettes all the time and, like, not eat healthy and just say, woe is me. But then there's all these people around me that are also going to have to go through that with me, who are going to have to look after me through that. And, like, that's not helpful for anybody. And I want to be able to be there for the ones that I love. And then that gives me motivation to then take care of myself. Yeah.
Yeah. You're reminding me of, like, past relationships where I've always been in relationships where we get to a certain point. And I feel like the point is where we just can't quite understand each other. Like, I feel like I'm a very emotional person, and I need a lot of reassurance, especially on my down days. But I have, like, jealous tendencies,
Right.
which I haven't experienced, thank goodness, for years and years. But my last relationship, it was really, really tough. I felt like, you know, he was sort of emotionally cheating on me. He was, you know, talking to this girl that was, you know, just a friend for the whole relationship. And it slowly drove me insane to the point where, like, I was losing weight, and, like, I just couldn't eat because my stomach was upset all the time because I was, like, constantly going against my intuition. I felt like there was something wrong, but I wasn't able to communicate it effectively. And I think that's the root of all of the issues that I've had in relationships, is that I have not been able to effectively communicate my expectations or standards for love.
Yeah.
And so that's been, like, a huge growing point in my current relationship right now, actually.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I could just go off on that too, but I feel like I'm gonna go on a whole side tangent about existing in a relationship with another person, which is
Another podcast.
that is like a woo. That is another one.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about, like, bad relationships. On our
I
next one.
literally wrote, well, what I'd said, jealousy in relationships, but also leaving hard relationships.
Oh God, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But back to like being with somebody through hard emotions when it's triggering for yourself, I think is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a hard one. I think I like, so we're both, like, we have big emotions. When I was young, like, those emotions were, like, said that they weren't good, or, like, a lot of people found them overwhelming. So, like, I learned to, like, suppress a lot of my emotions, and, like, I also have anxiety now, like, communicating my big emotions. And I think when we're told that our emotions are bad, sometimes we have a hard time holding space for other people. And so, like, I want people to hold space for my emotions, but then I find sometimes being around other people's emotions, it feels like so much. It feels like too much. And being empathic as well, it's like,
I know. I don't know why it's like that. Like, I claim, like, to be, like, I have, like, done all this self-reflection, all this healing, but there's still so many parts of, like, the human brain that need tending to.
Yeah.
And I think that's
for me anyways, the exciting part about like taking that first step and like starting to look inward and like exploring these deeper thoughts,
Right.
even like out loud and with other people,
Right.
is that there's like always more things to explore, always more things to work on. And I think that, yeah, like showing up in spaces where you're completely empathetic is actually really difficult. Like it can be very difficult because, yeah, the triggers, and also just like sometimes you just want to shake people and be like, it doesn't have to be so bad, or it could be worse. But everyone has their own experience of what pain and anguish and grief feel like. And so it's just, I think it's so important to you, if you want to give love the way that you want to receive love.
Yeah.
It's like remembering that time-old tale of like, treat others how you want to be treated, you know, is like, it's something that you have to bring with you every day in every space. And it's especially hard when you're trying to give empathy to people who you feel like really don't deserve it. Like there's one case where it's like people that you love and you're like, okay, no, they deserve all the best emotions from me, and I need to show up as best as possible. And then there's like situations where you're like, you're actually so wrong. Like you're unbelievably wrong. Your views of the world are terribly racist, or like you are being culturally insensitive, or you're what you're doing is like regressive, not progressive. Like there's so many instances of like where you actually really do have to take a breath and like be calm in your approach, because I think that's something else about communication and finding like these new things to work on in your brain is that like you can only communicate what you can communicate. You know what I mean? Like you can't force anyone to understand a perspective, or to do things differently, or to be a better person, or any of those things. Like you it's called going against the resistance. And basically like you want to, like, you can exit the momentum and enter it at any time, but essentially like there is this momentous flow of your life, and if you're pushing against it and you're trying to like force people to do things, like it's ultimately hindering your own progression.
Well, and in that it's in that too, it's just like you're almost creating like resentment, and like it's it's a sense of control, you know, trying to control outcome or whatever, and it's not helpful.
No, that was a really tough one for me in my work, because I find that like a lot of like I'm in sort of like the political advocacy realm, and so a lot of my work is about how we can approach situations and just change perspectives, like thoughtfully, carefully, positively, to reflect better environmental, communal like outcomes, like all those sorts of things. And yeah, it just gets really tough. It gets really tough sometimes.
I think that it takes like special skills to be sensitive and to communicate and debate, but in this place of like where you're not getting angry and frustrated and letting that come out, because then it's hard when we get to that place of like being angry and communicating out of like aggression or whatever. You lose like what you're trying to say, and then people, I feel like, are no longer hearing because that defensive comes up, and
you lose the intention of your words. And also like when you have a thought, you have to translate that into your words, and then it gets translated again from the other person, from what they hear into their own thoughts. So it's like there's so many different like translations of thought between two people, even when they have a communication. And so it's like
scream inside.
Yeah. Okay, well,
is that it? Is that where I don't know. I feel like we've timed pretty good.
Yeah, where are we at?
We can do it a little outro.
Oh,
yeah. I feel like it's good. This is our first podcast. So I'm Casey and this is Alexa, and we have a lot of conversations together. We're best friends. We like to talk about feelings and emotion and everything of life.
Every combo feels like it should be a podcast.
Yeah.
We come to new realizations all the time.
All the time. And it's great. And maybe our thoughts and
No, we're good.
Okay. Our thoughts and feelings can help other people, and it can be a fun way. I love open dialogue and like having the conversation continued. And so we'll post this on my channel. And usually I talk about health on my channel, but I think this is going to be really fun to open it up and share the space. And maybe in the comment section below, people can talk about their experience of being in the depths and like what they've done for themselves to get out of that. Their experience with like manifestation and maybe the things that they're trying to like manifest in their own lives. And how to support somebody in your life that's maybe stuck in the depths and they're not quite at like the spot where you are in your life. I think that could be a cool little conversation to continue in the comments below. But we're going to try and keep this going and have conversations about everything of life. We're both in our late 20s and
It's time.
it's time. We need to.
This is like your channel's about health. This is like a new branch of health.
This is health. This is like
This is health. This is healing.
this is healing. So this is free counseling with Casey and Lex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free therapy sesh 101.
Yeah.
Okay, tune in next week.
Yeah. We'll have something new.
Wait, what's our next one gonna be?
I don't know.
Okay, tune in to find out.
Yeah.
Bye.